There has always, for me, been a disconnect between the typical what I'm supposed to want to be when I grow up and what I actually want to be when I grow up. In popular culture, little girls are supposed to want to be doctors, princesses, preschool teacher, movie stars, singers, mommies, veterinarians, Claire, or horse trainers. Get along, little doggy. Me, on the other hand, well, I never did deal well with popular culture and molds and all of that. I dislike boxes, except refrigerator boxes. Those are pretty fun. But from the beginning, I always sort of awkwardly frolicked along to the beat of my own drum, whatever that happened to be. Usually it was a bassoon or something nerdy like that. That's just how cool I am. Yeah. So while my peers aspired to work with injured horses, I decided I was going to raise Gila monsters. I had seen a picture of them in one of the many books that my dutiful and attentive mother brought home from the library. They're like giant lizards that spit poison. And how much cooler can you get than that? I never was particularly squeamish. I figured it was my duty when some of my friends decided that something was gross or disgusting or nasty, that I would be the one to declare it fascinating and impressive and most worthy of interest. I remember one day particularly well. I was about 8 years old, and my dance class was touring an abandoned building that was soon going to be made into our new studio. On top of an old radiator, I found a dead bumblebee. Now, this wasn't one of those tiny little waspy, lame bee wasp things. It was one of those gigantic yellow and black monsters of fluffiness. You know what I'm talking about. It was about the same size as my thumb. Keep in mind that since I was 8 years old, my thumb has grown considerably, but that's beside the point. Naturally, like any sane human being, I was thrilled with this find. I motioned to the other girls and I told them to come take a look, expecting them to crowd around and maybe, if they were brave enough, poke it. Instead, they squealed and backed away like I was the dead bee on top of the radiator, and the radiator was a barrel of hazardous biological waste that smelled of poo. Let me pause here to explain something. Dance class was a bit of a conundrum for me. I started dancing when I was about 6 years old, and I was with the same group of girls for the next couple years. This was my introduction to the world of cliques. As I treasured dreams of growing up, tying on toe shoes, and becoming a ballerina, the girls in my class decided that I didn't fit their mold and therefore needed to be ostracized. Means excluded. I particularly remember one episode of awkwardness in dance class where I may or may not have punched a girl in the face. Our instructor intervened, asking whether or not I had done this horrible thing and why had I done it, and was I sorry. I averted my eyes and maintained stoutly that I didn't know what he was talking about. I wasn't about to tell him that the girl had gotten the other girls to join in a circle around me, chanting, "Hippo, hippo, hippo, hippo." Granted, waif has never applied to me, but still, I punched her. So anyway, with that insight into the marvelous dynamics of my dance class, we return to the epically humongous dead bumblebee on the radiator. I think at some level, however pathetic this is, I identified with that dead bee. As the other girls wandered away in disgust, I gently picked up the bumblebee by his perfect clear wings. I named him George, and I carried him with me through the whole rest of the tour. This is kind of embarrassing to admit. Before the tour was done, I gently set him on a windowsill so that he would have a good view. Yeah, I got along quite well with inanimate objects. The first toy I remember buying was a Princess Leia Star Wars action figure. I saved up $6 whole. I was inordinately proud of myself for that accomplishment. As soon as I had the money, I added Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi to my collection. For the next couple years, until I lost all of them, I don't know where they went, and that is one of the regrets of my childhood. I carried Luke Skywalker with me everywhere I went. Once, my family and I went to McDonald's, and I left him in the back seat to wait for me. When we returned, I realized with a shock that I had forgotten to save a McNugget for Luke Skywalker. I was haunted by his hungry plastic eyes, and I apologized profusely. But I took him on a speeder ride when we got home, and that made everything okay. This leads back to the dilemma of what I want to be when I grow up. Because though for me the answer has ranged between diverse selections such as chef, fireman, taekwondo instructor, and massage therapist, the real answer has always been somewhere more along the lines of Jedi Master Warrior Princess! And I've always kind of felt like that's not okay. Girls are supposed to like Barbies and horses and Polly Pocket. I like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, archery, weightlifting, hunting and mud and camping and setting things on fire. However, I am still very much a woman. So how was I supposed to reconcile what I thought girls should like versus what I like? I sort of saw things like eyeshadow and high heels as an embodiment of weakness. And weakness is to be avoided because weakness makes you vulnerable. And being vulnerable is bad because face punching happens. Strength, then, was directly opposed to being a woman. But recently, I have realized that, as in swing dancing, it takes as much, if not more, strength to follow than to lead. Jedi Master Warrior Princess is just as valid an expression of femininity as Barbie fashion show floofy skirt and gaudy tiara edition. I have gradually grown into the idea of wearing mascara and going shoe shopping and all of the typical metropolitan female pursuits, except for that whole going to the bathroom in a pack thing. I don't quite get that. But my point is, I'm realizing that I can simultaneously be a warrior and a princess. The two aren't mutually exclusive, but this warrior likes lip gloss, and this princess bow hunts better than you'd expect. This warrior this warrior can't talk. Your money or your penguin. Erica is safe in her blanket fort. Awkward penguin is hiding in the hair forest.